Welcome to another episode of Tea Time with Terry Ann. I am Terry Ann Porter, also known as Life Coach TA, and today I have the honor and the pleasure of talking with Melissa White. Now, I met Melissa several years ago. I can't even think how long it's been. I started a knit and crochet Bible study at our local church, and she came up with every excuse not to attend. But Melissa came in, she learned how to knit. Did you also learn how to crochet, Melissa?
No, I can chain. That's about it.
Oh, okay. And she became a very avid knitter. Enjoys it. I've seen some, even since we have stopped meeting as a group. I don't know about recently, but I do know that she has continued with that. And welcome, Melissa. It has been great to be a friend with you all these years, to knit and crochet with you all these years. And now, welcome to Tea Time.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here. Thanks for asking me to come chat with you.
Well, I want to chat today because you have a new venture going on in your life. You took on homeschooling. Is it 2 boys?
3.
3 boys. Oh, okay. You took on homeschooling 3 boys this year. Yes. What are their ages?
They are 11, 10, and 9.
Oh my goodness. Now it's been a while for me. What grades are these?
That's 6th grade, 5th grade, 4th grade.
All right.
So it's pretty convenient for us to do this right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is this your first time doing homeschooling?
No, several years back, I have 2 older daughters. They are a sophomore in high school and a 7th grader. And several years back, I know they're growing up. It's crazy. Several years back, when my oldest was in kindergarten and 1st grade, I homeschooled her, and then my second daughter, I homeschooled her in a year or 2 of preschool.
So you've done this before, and you are a teacher.
Yes, and that's why I stopped homeschooling the first time. I actually went back to the classroom to teach, and I just took the kids with me. So,
well, do you find that being a teacher is kind of a vital part of homeschooling?
I don't think it's a vital part of homeschooling. I definitely, I wouldn't ever want anyone to think that they would have to have a teaching degree or teaching experience, even, honestly, if they wanted to, take on homeschooling their kids. But I will say it's given me some good training and experience. I have the confidence to handle kind of things beyond our classroom. I'll give you a real quick example. I have a very good family friend, dear family friend. She is like family to me. And she has 7 children of her own. And she also works a full-time job and homeschools her kids. And 2 of her daughters were just really struggling with a couple of things. And she just was kind of at a loss as to what to do. A co-op situation, which we can talk about later, wasn't really the right thing for this need for the girls. So I said, why don't you bring them to my house on Monday and Wednesday mornings, and they can do their English. That's what they were both struggling with. They can do their English and their writing, and we also do some Greek and Latin. They can do those with us. And they come over and they are with us for a few hours those 2 mornings. And I feel like teaching has really given me the opportunity to be able, having my teaching degree has really given me the opportunity to kind of take on something like that where I can really help somebody else who's struggling. So
nice. Now you mentioned a co-op. Mm-hmm. What is a co-op?
Okay, so a co-op is a group of parents in the homeschooling situation. So we'll say it's a group of parents or families that are homeschooling, and they all come together to learn together. So some co-ops are very highly structured. They actually they meet in a church building or a school building. They have classes, and they're divided in grades, just like any other school, and the kids rotate and go to classes. And generally the parents teach the classes. So it's kind of like, it kind of is divided into your thing. Like, say you are an engineer Well, maybe you might teach the high school math class, or you're a chemist or something. So you're going to do the secondary math or chemistry class. Or say you're a stay-at-home mom and you just have little kids and your oldest is in preschool and you still have a nursing baby. Well, you're probably going to feel comfortable hanging out in the nursery watching the littles while the bigger kids go. So all the parents kind of chip in and they find their role, and they take turns teaching the kids. So what a co-op provides for a homeschooler is a chance for, number one, socialization with their peers, and also for parents, because parents need that too. So it provides socialization. It also provides maybe those subjects, those extracurricular subjects that would be kind of silly to try to teach at home, like PE or music class or something, but you still want your kid to have exposure to it. That way, there's like 10, 20 kids, they get together, they have PE class, and they that need is kind of fulfilled in their homeschool time. So like I said, they can be really relaxed and casual and kind of small, or they can be really large and highly structured. It varies. There is one though to fit whatever your jam is for homeschool co-op. There's one to fit that. So
Oh, so I guess that way too, then you don't quite feel so all alone.
right, yeah.
Get away.
Yeah. No, it's definitely as much of a get together time for parents as it is for kids, for sure. And if you try a co-op, a lot of people have, you try a co-op and you're like, that's just not my fit. It wasn't a great experience for us. There's literally a dozen more you could try. So I very strongly encourage homeschoolers to find a co-op. It can be hard. It can be hard to get in there to do it. There is some type of financial commitment usually, just because you got to have a place to be. You got to have materials to teach kids. You got to have something like that. But generally, it's a way less than like tuition or tutoring or something like that. And it's co-op is short for a cooperative experience. So everyone gets to kind of work but enjoy together.
Do you find that the boys are responsive and understand the difference between we're at home, no, you can't sit and watch cartoons all day during this time? How do you adjust for that part?
That is tough. That is a struggle. The thing that is most important to me, and again, I think this does come a lot from my teaching background, being in a classroom.
Mhm.
And that's the other thing about school. There's a dozen different ways to do school. Some homeschoolers don't have a dedicated schoolroom. We do have a dedicated school space. And that is really what fits my personality as a teacher. And as you get into homeschooling, you will find out, even if you don't have teaching experience previously, you will find out what your personality is and what you prefer and what you all thrive best in. So you can't, make yourself fit into one little, way of doing it. You have to be willing to try and see what is the best situation for you. But we do school in our schoolroom, and that's part of our basement. We don't live in a very big house. There's 7 of us living in this house, and we use every spare inch. So our homeschool room is in our basement, and I've worked really hard to implement some things that make it seem like a classroom. The boys have a dedicated homeschool space. They have a desk. They all have school supplies. I even printed a school supply list, and they went school supply shopping with my mom before school started, because that's what she'd always done. So
good idea.
Yep, that's kind of how we make it. This is school, and then your time for other things is after school's done. Now, they do understand the flexibility. I can say, hey, when you're finished with your math, even if Luke isn't finished, Remy, you can go upstairs and you can get started on your electronics time if you want. Or Remy, you can go outside if you're finished. They understand. They like having the flexibility to do that. So they enjoy that.
That's what I've enjoyed. I've watched you show some of their science experiments on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those I thought, man, I didn't know that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Did you find that having the Facebook interaction is kind of a positive part of this?
Yeah, it's really nice to have people see what we're doing. Homeschooling has become a lot more normalized, maybe we could say, especially in the last 2 years. So I think people have just been exposed to it more and more. But even though people have been, there are still some people that are like, what are you doing? Like, okay, the question that I love, because my parents started homeschooling my sister back in the 90s, and the question that I love that people would ask them over and over again is that legal? That was like an inside joke in our family. Like, people would come up to my parents and go, is that legal? And my parents were like, yes, we're not outwardly doing something illegal with our child. Yes, homeschooling is legal. But there are still people today that are like, really, you can do that? And so that really, social media is hard. You have to really always be searching as to why you're sharing what you're sharing and why you're interacting, how you're interacting. At least I do, or else it becomes something that's out of hand and you kind of lose yourself in it. So not everything I do, but a lot of the things I try to carefully think, will this encourage someone? Will this show someone that they could do this if they're considering it? Will it amuse someone and bring a laugh to their day? Will they smile when they see the boys, over their sinking pennies or whatever experiment it was? Right. Will they like having a little insight into that? So I get a lot of really good feedback from people, by doing that. And so, yeah, I like doing it. As long as the boys are comfortable doing it too, and they are.
I know when I was watching a couple of your experiments, one of the thoughts I had was, in a classroom of 30 kids, you couldn't have done that. Yeah. Or it would have been done kind of in front of the room with everybody watching, but this way your boys got hands-on into it. And I was really impressed and excited by that and thought, wow, that would be so awesome to do.
Yeah. And, the resources that homeschoolers have now make it really easy. But, those kinds of experiments are simple things, and they make a big impact with the boys. They really love that stuff, and it's like straws in water, like some of it. It's not complicated. So
I've enjoyed watching your posts. If someone were to say to you, okay, Melissa, I want to homeschool my kids, but I don't know how to get started, what would be your words to them?
Yeah, well, what I would encourage them to do is to first start with the parent support group. So every state, first of all, the states have parent support groups, and then they break it down further into regions within the state. It gets a little complicated, but honestly, this is the way life is now. If you just search on Facebook, homeschooling in Jackson County or homeschooling in Missouri or homeschooling in whatever county you're in, find a Facebook group to join. They'll list all the resources there. There'll be someone that will be able to, that's a very basic, simple way to do it. Or, you can search online, but find out, the homeschooling parent groups in your state or region, because homeschooling laws are different in every state. Yes, it's legal, but the way you need to go about homeschooling your child is different. Fortunately, in Missouri, the homeschooling laws are fairly relaxed. Kansas, they're a little bit stricter. Missouri, they're about as relaxed as you can get as far as guidelines and requirements for homeschooling. So we're fortunate that we live in a state that is pretty relaxed, but honestly, it's not a difficult process. Just sometimes in different states, it is a process. So just go there first. You need to find the parent group though, not the co-op. The co-op is like the fun school stuff. The parent group is like the legal stuff. Like, here's how you really do get started if you want to get started. So, and also like if you have a high schooler, it gets a little bit more complicated as you move up into your high school years, because you're needing to teach and prove that you have covered material for like high school credits and that kind of thing.
Actually, I was going to lead towards, is there then a testing that you do to certify that yes, this child has completed the requirements of the state, even through a home situation?
Yeah, there are different, it varies by state. So in the state of Missouri, I'll just give you a very quick rundown, and Disclaimer, I am by no means a legal official on this, but this is the best, and it's to the best of my understanding. So in Missouri, in a calendar year, you have to have 1,000 hours of schooling. So that's not August to May. That's January to December. 1,000 hours of schooling, 600 of which must be in core subjects like English, math, science, social studies. The other 400 hours can be extracurricular. That's like your PE, music, life skills. Okay, you take your kids with you to the grocery store and they do the shopping and they calculate the budget. That's homeschool. That's life skills. That's
Nice.
extracurricular hours. So you just have to keep a record of the hours that you've done, and you also have to keep a record of what you've taught them and samples of their work. And you have to show within those samples of their work that you have regularly given them some kind of assessment over what you've taught. It can be a test. It can be a recording of them saying an oral poem. It could be a project that they've done at the end of a history unit. Like it could be one of our, like we just finished making early China, Shang Dynasty bowls, so that's the end of the unit. It's this project, so it can be like that. And you just have to have that ready to share with someone if the need arises that they want to talk to you. However, if anyone ever comes to your door in the state of Missouri and wants to see everything that you've been doing for homeschooling, you do not have to let them in. You can tell them that they can contact you later. And there's also within those parents groups, there's all kinds of legal support if you ever have any issues with any of that.
Nice.
So there's actually a legal a lobbyist in Jefferson City that is dedicated to homeschooling, and that is their job, and that's what they do. They lobby for homeschooling families and keep all of that legal stuff, straight.
Oh, nice. So you're not, I love hearing that, because my first thoughts were, okay, you're kind of off in this little bubble all by yourself. But you're not, it looks like there's plenty of support out there.
Oh yeah.
And another thing I have often heard about your homeschooling, well, you're not giving your kids very much socialization. What's your response to that?
Yeah. Well, like I said, the co-op solves a whole multitude of things with that. So if that is a concern of yours, first of all, the one thing that I would like to say is you are the parent, okay? You made the decision to school your child how you wish, and you can be the one to decide if they have enough socialization or not, okay? So that's number one. I feel like sometimes parents don't have enough confidence in themselves, and it's already there. You've already got that confidence. You have successfully raised this gorgeous little human for as long as they are there. So you are already doing something amazing. So number one, who cares if Aunt, Hilda says they're not socialized enough, if you think they are, then they are. But you have options. So you have that co-op. So co-ops are great. You can get together and spend time with other kids. You can have a play date. You can put them in here's one other thing that we did with the boys. Each one of them did get to choose an activity, an extracurricular activity that they were interested in, that they wanted to do. So my oldest son, Luke, he's taking art lessons. My middle son, Nathan, is doing Taekwondo. And my youngest son, Remy, is taking a ninja gymnastics class. So because homeschooling offered us some flexibility. Nathan's Taekwondo class is on the weekends and on Wednesday nights. And he does do that. Nathan is my stepson, so he does do that with his mom. But we're able to work it in because we don't have a school that we're getting to and from, or, that kind of thing. Luke's art class is from 2:30 to 2 to 4 o'clock. So we can get him to that class because we're able to do that. So I let them each choose one thing that they wanted to do, but it doesn't even have to be like that. You can just go to the park. We also go to the park on on nice afternoons, and they're there with the kids. They're involved in church. They go back and forth to their, grandparents' house and all of their family members. So honestly, we're busier, and you will hear homeschool families say this. We're busier when we were homeschooling than we were when our kids were in traditional school. You'll hear families say that all the time. And you'll get to where you notice each other. Like, you might not know that person, but if you're out in public, like if we're at the park or whatever, first of all, if it's the middle of the day and there's like a parent and a bunch of kids there, you can pretty much, assume they're homeschooled. But you get to where you're like, that's a homeschooling family. They're homeschoolers. There are people, So anyway, they stay pretty busy. I'll just say.
I can see this. I can see this. Having never done it, all I know is, from this different comments I've heard all around, you just really make it sound just perfect for your family. And I love how you said you personalize it.
Yeah.
What works for your family?
Yes, you do their thing. Now, I think next, after the holidays, I think the boys are all going to, we've been talking about them all taking a swimming lesson together. So they've wanted to do swimming lessons for forever, but just never been able to work it in. So I think that's what we're going to try and do in the winter, because, there's several places that have indoor pools. And I think that's what we're working on. So I think we're going to consolidate our individual activities, but it's something, we've been talking about together and asking them, like, what are your interests, guys? What do you want to do? And that kind of thing. And they learn what they don't
several
want.
things.
Yeah. So.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I have so enjoyed watching your little stories online. I'm loving the experiments. Keep it up. I'm learning a lot along the way.
Yes.
If you wanted to make one final statement to anyone about homeschooling, what would it be?
Yeah, I would just say, just take the plunge and do it. A little bit of uncertainty, maybe a week or even a month or two of not quite being sure what you're doing, is definitely worth the long run when you figure it out and you find your groove and you find your style, and just reach out to the people around you, because I'm not kidding, there's literally dozens of people that are ready and willing to help a homeschooler get going if you just know where to look. So.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Melissa. I so enjoyed this, and I can't wait until we get together in person here soon. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And stay tuned for our next Tea Time with Terry Ann. Until then, enjoy.